Dearest gentle listeners, you are listening to the Ladies Bridgerton, the talk of the town. We are your effervescent host, your neighborhood-friendly Kiwi Tash from Middle-earth, New Zealand.
And Patti, Regency romance enthusiast, whose current chapter of her story takes place in Ohio.
Settle down onto your favorite settee as we delve into the lives of the elite and illustrious ladies, lords, and royalty of the ton. This Bridgerton podcast is two friends talking romance, symbolism, Easter eggs, deep diving into the connections of our favorite characters. We cover both book, TV series, and notable social media, and therefore will contain spoilers.
Celebrate good times, come on! It is finally episode 4. We get to talk Polin, and there's so much in store. Keepers of secrets, the Lady Bridgerton bee, plant meetings, desk contents, and journal entries.
I'm so excited for this episode. I can't even tell you. Woo! We must make haste. But I do want to start out by, before we go into making haste each episode now, I think if there is any Bridgerton knowledge that we might have, this is the portion that we're going to add.
Yeah, this is where we do it
in. So I am a big Christmas dork. I'm going to put it out there. Huge Christmas dork. It's not even the Christmas day that I love, although now that I have a kid, there's a certain age in which Christmas kind of stops being a little bit magical and it's just kind of like another day in a way. And then the next generation comes along and you have a kid and you get to experience the magic through their eyes again, and it makes it so beautiful again. So I'm back to being like an absolutely glittery light, sparkly baubles, the whole 9 yards of crazy for Christmas again. And I have been saying that I desperately want a Bridgerton Christmas special. Now, we may be jumping the gun here, but there has been certain things alluding through the little tinklings on the internet that Johnny Bailey made mention to going back to Bridgerton for Christmas. And someone on Reddit, I think our lovely admin KK Chips, posted into our personal, private group chat between the three of us the other day, stating that there was talkings on Reddit about a Bridgerton Christmas special that they are filming, and that would make a lot of sense with the comment that Johnny Bailey made about returning to Bridgerton for Christmas. And we do know that this is set during winter this year, autumn and winter, so it would make a lot of sense if we get a Bridgerton Christmas special. And I'm literally jumping in my seat because I'm so excited. I'm wanting one.
I
want Colin singing by the fireplace to Penelope and over their children.
Well, I want credit. No offense, Kay. I posted that TikTok.
Oh, sorry.
I tagged you 4 times in a row.
And then
because we have talked Bridgerton Christmas quite a few times.
Yes, I was so excited. Like I don't even, as you saw, I literally started catching back up on the chat from 24 hours previously. Like that at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. this morning, because I realized, Patti distracted me from reading through the whole chat and said, you must read this part now. So I made haste and I jumped straight to the Christmas special, and then I had to like backtrack to all of our other conversations.
Well, and so this original person that posted is somebody who lives over there, and they kind of stalk the sets. I don't remember their name.
They peruse. They promenade.
They walk around the sets. They walk around the sets and they try and peek through the cracks to see what's going on.
They're promenading.
But Ainsley Broom also posted a thing talking about it and brought up, we have had Christmas before in Queen Charlotte. We had a brief Christmas because that was done in the off season.
Yeah.
Because, in the land of Bridgerton, the books or the show, the season is not over the winter as it was in actual Regency England. They do it over the summer because it's never icky weather in
Bridgerton exists in an infinite land of sunshine.
Yeah, it exists in its own multiverse,
which is funny because
keep the queen alive and everything.
So many of the images where I've seen the sets and everything set up, it's always grey.
England is always great. Always great.
Yeah. Condolences.
It's very rainy there.
Sorrows, prayers.
Sorrows, prayers.
I literally was born in the Sunshine State. Sunshine State, Gold Coast. Literally Gold Coast.
Our
Queensland.
Sunshine State is Florida.
Well, Yeah.
So
Ours is Gold Coast is actually it's nearly identical weather to Florida minus the tornadoes and hurricanes. We do get tropical storms come through, but not anywhere near on
I
the
was going to say minus somebody else. So I'm glad you answered yourself. So it kept me from being polarizing.
We also don't have alligators. We have crocodiles and snakes and spiders and everything that wants to kill you drop hairs. All the Australians will laugh at that one.
Well, and my one physician who was talking about New Zealand as a place to move was like,
mhm.
they don't have snakes.
We do
I
not
read
have
they don't have
snakes. We don't
snakes.
have
Yeah.
spiders. We don't have bears. We don't have cougars. We don't have, we do have spiders, but they're teeny tiny. And like, I think the worst spider, it can possibly put you in hospital if you have like an affinity for that kind of, if you're like sensitive to that. But otherwise, like they're the only thing that's going to kill you here is the lack of things to do. But like, as long as you like the outdoors, you'll be completely fine.
Josh, I want to know when you have the lack of things to do. You are
I,
always doing things.
because I like outdoors, so I'm fine. But people who like the big Bridgerton balls and being able to Uber their coffees to their houses, and we don't like we're a very simplistic living here, but it's basically Lord Anderson in the country out in here.
Right.
We may be a city, but we're a very simple city.
Yeah, so I'm excited. The speculation are not sure if it's a separate Christmas special
Yeah,
or if it's just going to be a Christmas episode within season 4 of Bridgerton, because
yeah.
this season 4 is running during the off season. So it is
Yes.
possible that it's just
As
the
long
Christmas, like we're not going
as
to get
I have
anything soon.
I need Luke Newton singing Christmas carols. Please, for the love of God. He keeps saying, I want to sing. Let me sing. If we could have the boys harmonizing, singing over the children. I mean, granted, Benedict's not going to have children yet, but that's not the point. I just need those boys harmonizing over their little babies, singing their songs. I will melt into a puddle of happiness. Okay. Secondarily, seeing as we were talking about Johnny Bailey anyway, I want to give props to Johnny Bailey. Wicked has come out this week, the week that we are recording this, which is
It
for
came
me
out
the 20.
yesterday.
Yeah, it's for me. It's the 24th of November. For
Yeah, for
Patti,
me
it's
it's
the
the 23rd.
23rd.
So
Yeah, so Wicked has just come out this week, and it is just getting amazing reviews. So big props to Johnny Bailey. You are an amazing actor, and we cannot wait to see what you are doing. Additionally, on the note of season 4, because it is a big week in Bridgerton news, Yerin Ha's new TV series June Prophecy has just dropped. The first episode I've watched already with my husband. As you know, he is a huge June fan, so he was the one being like, we have to watch this. It's just come out today. Get on the couch, get your hot chocolate, get your blankie. We're good to go. And she only played a very, very minor part in her character. I don't try not to give spoilers here, but I don't foresee her coming back into the series. I mean, she may in flashbacks because she plays the young version of a certain character, but we didn't really get to see very much of her. She's beautiful, and from what I did see, she's brilliant. I think she did the English accent. It sounded like she was doing an English accent. I think it's most people there had an English accent. She definitely wasn't using her native Australian voice, although you can hear the slight twang of it occasionally. But yeah, she did have a very, very small speaking role. So if those who are going to watch it for Yerin Ha, unfortunately, it is just a few seconds, blink and you miss it, kind of a moment. But I did want to give props on another job well done to all of our amazing actors of Bridgerton universe. Now we must make haste. Patty's like, please.
No offense, guys. Like, my son is at
Busy
work
mamas.
again, and I am ready to talk episode 4.
I know, and we have so much in store for you today. So now we must make haste into today's episode. Okie dokie, artichoke, well, not artichoke, asparagus-y.
Asparagus. Asparagus makes you asparagus.
Which is pretty
What
much
was that?
because I know what's coming.
And And let me just say, it's like, you know how your relationships ebb and flow, right? Like you have the excitement when it first starts, and then you kind of get comfortable and it becomes routine. And then something happens that brings back that spark. So we have been voice noting the last few days, like dopamine hit is back.
Yes.
Over some stuff. Yeah.
Like there's nothing that I'm not proud of in our work, but there is definitely episodes where we have a lot more like fun insights. And today's episode is one of those ones where both you and I have really fun little tidbits to add. And so I think,
and I wasn't talking about us. I was talking about like, the just season 3 in general. Cause like, we were all about it for months, and then we did our detox, and now it's just like, yeah, we're chatting about it. Okay. And now we're like, oh my God, did you know?
Yes, because both you and I have such great insights into this episode. So let me tell you.
I've been holding on to my secret since July.
Mine's been like for like 3 days because I have no ability to keep secrets any longer than that. I'm like bursting
I don't
at the seams.
either. Do you know how excited? And I had to break it yesterday with Kay. I let Kay
and you
in
saw
it.
I've even posted a little tidbit, people, on the 23rd or 22nd for Americans of November. I literally posted this little tidbit in the group, but no one's even going to know that I posted it until they go back and they're like, that's what that was. I snuck it in. Okay, so let's start out with Lord Debling calling upon Penelope at the Featherington house. This is the night after the dance at the Innovations Ball, where they kind of cement their courtship.
And this is publicized, yeah.
Yeah, they've cemented their public courtship now. So Lord Debling is calling upon Penelope, and I'm kind of proud of her in this moment. This is the first time that she has a caller to the house. None of the other girls had any caller. Well, we had Finchy, but I mean like before the person that they married is what I mean.
Yeah.
How many lords called upon Prudence or Philippa? How many? 0. None. Less than 0. And we've got the Featherington sisters, and they are like basically running up. I'm not entirely sure why Portia called them, other than maybe to brag about Penelope's successes to them. I'm not like, because she summons them there.
True narcissistic parents keep their children in competition all the time. But Penelope, this is such an odd situation for her. I really feel like Portia didn't think she could process it all on her own. Kind of like, well, it felt to me like Penelope and Debling were in a habitat at a zoo. And they were looking in on them, and they were talking about it like, this is foreign. This is so weird. Yeah, this is like, happening? Why her? How did she do this? Oh, she must have trapped him in a closet. Nope, that was Fife.
And this is one of the few moments where we actually get Portia being complimentary towards Colin and Penelope, because she acknowledges that Penelope used Colin's help, and maybe she should have used Colin's help because clearly he is the answer to her problems.
Well, and the thing is, I think she was not being kind to Colin. I think she was being mean to Penelope.
Yeah.
That Penelope couldn't get a man on her own.
Yeah.
And she says, I know there are people who have gone to greater length to align with the Bridgertons. Yeah. That is a dig on him. Yeah. He is not important enough to be the connection to the Bridgertons in her eyes. So to say that some people have gone to greater lengths, she's obviously talking about herself.
Well, I thought she was talking about Marina.
Marina didn't do it. She pushed her.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are and it's official. You have just proven why America is in the predicament that it's in. Because if somebody hears something, if somebody twists the truth long enough and rewrite history long enough, they're going to start seeing it that way. So there are people who are villainizing Marina. And yes, Marina did what she thought she had to do, but she felt like she had to do it because of Portia's scheming.
See, I have this issue where I have a really hard time villainizing many, if any, people because I have this ability to empathize with people's situations so much that I like dig deep enough back into their future where their past where I'm like, okay, well this happened and this happened and this is why this happened and this is why this happened and I can see how they got here. It doesn't make it right, but I can understand how they got there.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing. I'm a white person. I also
Yeah.
grew up in America and we're all about good and evil. But
There is gray.
I can say Debling is a narcissist, but there are reasons narcissists become narcissists.
Yeah.
I can say Portia is a narcissist, but I can
100%.
probably tell you what got her, why she is the way she is. Everybody has a backstory. Everybody has trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just how they handle that trauma. I've had conversations with people like, what makes a person like me who ends up being a people pleaser and whatever, like, I'm not a narcissist. I'm the person that like erases myself for another person. But then you have
hands up.
But then you have, you know, the narcissist goes down the other path where they just cut off all connection to other human beings because they have to cover up and hide the shame of whatever it is trauma that happened to them, that they're trying to present this persona that they want everybody to believe so much that cut off connections to humans so that they're able to believe their own lie.
Well,
and there is trauma that leads to that as well.
That's the dichotomy that we've seen this season between Penelope and Cressida, two people who have gone through a very, very similar upbringing. I can't say whether one had it harder than the other because I don't think we've truly seen enough of what Cressida has gone through. But obviously we had that dichotomy between one has turned out one way and the other has turned out the other way. And people try to compare Penelope as being just as bad as Cressida because at least Cressida does it to people's faces, but Penelope does it behind people's back. You can't simplify it like that. I mean, I think we will go into it on a separate episode, like, you know, the dichotomy between the two. But just
Penelope did not bully.
No.
Penelope wrote gossip similar to other gossip columnists at the time, but she ended up writing other gossip columnists out of business because she did something other gossip columnists didn't do, which is tell the truth.
Yes.
So when people figured out this was not fiction and she was telling the truth, she became this most sought after gossip columnist. And it's not
even with Eloise. It was not a lie. It was just look over here at this truth so you don't see this one.
She gave just enough of the truth so that the queen would lay off of her because Eloise was going to fall on her sword. She was going to tell the queen she was Whistledown so the queen would lay off of her family. Eloise was going to do the same thing that Penelope ended up doing, but Penelope knew to be able to save Eloise, she had to write something about Eloise that would be make it obvious she wasn't Whistledown, right?
And that was the other thing I forgot to put in before our Bridgerton news, but it's not Bridgerton news, but it's Bridgerton news adjacent. One thing that I want to mention now so that we can trace it throughout some of our own episodes as well is there is another Bridgerton podcast called
What a Barb.
What a Barb. Thank you. What a Barb. I don't really know a lot about them. I don't listen to other Bridgerton podcasts. I follow Ainsley Broom because she just does like tidbits and news about what's happening and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't follow other Bridgerton podcasts because I never ever want to hear someone else's take on something and then accidentally not accidentally pass it off as my own, but I don't want my.
And we have done that where we have bounced back and forth so many times that we end up saying something that like I'll say something that you had said a few weeks ago or vice versa. So I don't want to take somebody else's creation without honoring their work they put into it.
Yes.
So I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I've been asked to. I mean, Kay has told both of us to listen to What a Barb, and we haven't up until like I've listened to the first 15 or 20 minutes of the last two to get this information. Go ahead.
I literally, no, everything that you were saying, our brains are so filled with Bridgerton knowledge at this point and ideas and theories that I never want to accidentally take someone else's and like I heard it on the podcast and then I forgot about it for a few months and then you said something and I triggered something and I'm like, what about this idea? But it has actually come from someone else. So I never want to accidentally do that. So
well, and we already had that happen to us in July where somebody who was in our group took a post I made.
Yeah.
And reconfigured it and put it out on the public groups. And we had to remove them from the group. So I don't want that to I don't want another Bridgerton content creator to feel like we have ever stolen from them. And do I ever
Yeah.
remember every TikToker's name? No, but I acknowledge that I got this information
Yeah.
from somebody else.
Yes.
I did not come up with it.
This is the part, the point that I was making. I just forgot and I started talking. So what about have done they have done the Lord's work. There is some sort of screenwriters guild over in LA where you had to physically go in person to be able to get these notes, access to the notes, and it is the
original
scripts. It is the original scripts for Bridgerton. They went through, and you're not allowed to take photos or anything like that. There's a lot of rules around it, but they took extensive notes. And what they did is they have written notes, taken notes on every major scene change or wording change or lines that got cut out. Unfortunately, they don't have the original. So like the scripts where they changed Colin from being angry Colin to being a little bit more sensitive in certain scenes. Sorry, I've got the hiccups. They don't have those.
Those were not so much rewrites as they were reshoots. It's almost like the same wording, but they asked him to present it in a different way.
Yeah, so those things weren't present, but
the only reshoots I know that were rewritten were the willow tree and the market scene for sure.
Yes, yeah. And I thought that there was one more. I thought it was maybe
the argument after the wedding breakfast was reshot, but they were just asked to make it a little more ambiguous, not so much black and white anger. Yeah. I'm right, you're wrong. It's just
we are going to scatter some of the knowledge that they have imparted on the wonderful Bridgerton hive mind, because I think we want to very much acknowledge what they have done. We want to acknowledge that it is their work. We want you to go and listen to that episode. It's on YouTube. You can find it at what episode
they're on? Yeah, they're on Apple Podcasts also. That's where I listen to it. It's episodes 59 and 60.
Yeah, 59 is the one that's got the big, and it's I think it's somewhere between like 10 and 30 minute mark is where the first 10 minutes is like a catch up of their lives and that kind of thing. And then I think it's like about the 10 to 30 minute mark is where they've got like the big information dumping of,
and in 60 they have some scripting lines too.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that one of our listeners or Kay or someone who actively listens to them will just give us the little heads up of, hey, they've dropped another, because they didn't drop everything. They've done like a big bulk drop, and then they've done little tidbits throughout as they get to those specific episodes.
They're sprinkling it in to because it was a lot of work. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, and so we're never going to make an episode just basically covering what they have covered, because that's not what we're about. We're never going to steal someone else's work. They have put in a huge amount of effort into this, so we will. When it comes up to those parts, when we get to those scenes, but we will say, hey, this is a part that they have changed. Go listen to the podcast if you'd like to, the What About podcast, if you'd like to hear the whole thing, because we very much want to give flowers where flowers are due. But also, now that the information is out on the internet, I think we have to acknowledge it as not canon, but I think it is going to, a lot of the scenes are really interesting and they are going to play into future seasons.
It plays into some mindset. The scripting from episode 60 that went into the dream scene very much. Yes,
the dream scene
kind of it goes with, and it doesn't officially say Patti canon or Tosh canon. Oh, the Lord Squad.
Yes, that is the biggest. Right. Yeah.
I think that was a story they could have done that was sprinkled in, and they probably intended it, but maybe not. And like I caught the pattern in Danbury's Ball of what I saw,
and I'm curious as to how so Mondrick family cut scenes is going to play into next season, because they're talking about Sophie, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But I digress. We will get to those bits when we get there. The Genevieve relationship with Basilio, that one was an interesting one, but again, we will get there.
I like our Basilio theory the best.
Anthony and Francesca's discussion about John, again, we will get there when we get there. But so many of these things, like the scenes that I can understand why they will cut, is Lady Granny D getting her garden tended, and Benedict's feelings for Lady Tilly being genuine, Benedict becoming the official Viscount. I can understand why some of these were changed
Benedict
or
becoming
cut.
the official Viscount where it happened tells us that it also had to have happened the first time around when they went on vacation, which means he knew ahead of time because Colin had the key. Colin had the key and had to get it from Benedict, who wasn't home. So
it also would have made a lot of sense. And I wonder whether they're going to put it into the next season, because who's going to need to be able to throw around the weight of a Viscount with that jail scene? But I mean, he is going to be back by then, but I don't know. But anyway,
but I mean, in the book, him being the second son, the brother of the Viscount, is enough for the jailer.
But he is essentially the Viscount now. Well, yeah. So,
and I think they're going to do it. Like, he's not going to have to find her a position at his mother's. He's going to give her the position because he's the dude.
He gives plenty. Da, da, da. I'm never not going to take it there. You can't line me up like that. All right. Let's talk
We're going down in an earlier round.
Let's talk about feasting, shall we?
Let's talk about ferns, Fern.
Fern. I got a fern to pick with you. Okay, so we've got the Featherington sisters kind of peeking in the door. And actually, I wonder whether Portia, because there's no, as we see in later in this episode, there's not a standard way of how to do things because there is no male heir. This isn't a regular situation. It's very, very unusual. And so the usual protocols have been thrown out the window and no one is entirely sure how to act with it. As in, Debling doesn't have a male heir to go and ask to marry Penelope. Usually there would be a male relative or family member or whatever accompanying these chaperoning these moments like we see later in this episode.
It doesn't have to be a male.
No,
because Violet does it all the time, or a maid.
But Violet, as I was about to say, Violet asks Colin to come and accompany because when a lord of a certain rank comes to visit, I think
there needs to be a male family member present.
A male holds more weight in authority, like lending the family like some sort of authority with that lord visiting, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Well, and ultimately Benedict was not to be had that day, and Antony's gone to Devon.
It falls upon.
So the only male, and I mean Gregory was.
I was like,
Gregory is the last resort.
To me, he's not considered a man yet. He is still a boy. He's not an Eden, therefore he's still a boy. But I think
Samadani addressed him.
Yes, he did.
Like, yes,
he addressed her as him as sir. Or
I believe he addressed him first.
Yes,
and he addressed him first between and Eloise is older, so he did it how he should. He addressed the male first, and then the women,
and Eloise, and then Hyacinth by name because she's everyone's favorite.
Because she's too far down to be a miss anyway. There'd be way too much because Eloise is still a miss. So when you're addressing multiple siblings, if you you have your miss, and then any younger female sibling who is not out, you can call them by their first name.
Well, and I think he did it in a really, really charming way, but we will get to that part anyway. Let's talk about that. So yeah, I think the reason that Portia may have also called her daughters there more than just because she's a narcissist, which that is a very, very large portion. But I think she's also a little bit unsure as to how to proceed because she is new to Regents. Like she's not as well versed in the etiquette rules of the ton because her family is so new to it. And
I think it's just because it's Penelope, because she was right up in there when all the girls were out and Marina was there. She was all up in the mix. She was talking to people, like addressing them to talk to Prudence and Philippa. Like she was guiding people through the room.
Portia
but here she wasn't even in the room. She wasn't even in the room. She only had the door cracked. Yeah. Like that's how the door was. That's how the drawing room was in the book when Colin kissed her for the first time. But now, like, it's Debling. I think because it's Debling and she kind of knows, like, she can tell the way Penelope's acting that there's no chemistry.
Yeah.
And she's just curious. She's coming at it more from a curious thing. Like Penelope is going for security. Like Penelope's going for a husband strictly for security.
Yeah.
And
the conversation that they have after this tells us that. And it kind of breaks my heart.
But when she gets engaged to Colin, Portia is a completely different mama. She's all up in their biz. Like she's actually escorting.
In a way. So D-bag Debling, as I've clearly been in quite the mood when I wrote this show notes, because I wrote it as D-bag Debling. I was really in my feels about how he made Colin feel at the dance. How dare you hurt my boy's feelings?
Well, and he gave him the cut.
He did give him the cut.
When you're about to say what you're about to say, we know it.
Yes. So Debling brings Penelope a plant. So
Here's a plant.
At first I was like, oh, that's cute. She says that she likes to appreciate nature from her window, so he's brought her an indoor plant. Oh, that's thoughtful. Until I started researching what this plant is, because whilst Patti is our magnifying queen, I am the queen of researching the weird and wonderful and the stupid little details of Bridgerton, because that is my bread and butter. This is
to be fair, I would have looked this up, but I had no idea what that plant was.
I'm in a lot of gardening and plant pages. So
yeah, you have a garden. I do not.
I'm a gardener.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Don't be calling me out on the internet like this. I think Stephen's cousin listens to this.
Yours is being tended.
The soil gets turned. It is an asparagus fern. Stop. So the plant is an asparagus fern, and you may wonder, gentle listeners, what the symbolism of that is. Rest assured, we have done all the weird and wonderful research for you. An asparagus fern symbolizes growth and protection. That is basically what Lord Debling is promising, and especially when we get up to Patti's portion of weird and wonderful discoveries of the episode, it will make a lot more sense. Foreshadowing! In Debling's eyes, the growth and protection is just that he is affording her the wealth and protection of being a lady, and a very high standing lady at that, high rank, because he is I
don't think they officially say what he is, but he's high ranking with a lot of money.
I don't think we actually, I don't think we ever
He's not a baron. He's not a baron or a viscount.
No, because he's higher than Anthony. I would say that he's possibly an earl or a mark. I'm going to go with Marquis, because he's very, very wealthy. Like he's said to be one of the wealthiest in the ton, and not that wealth equates. He has
the largest house in Mayfair.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Marquis is Earl one below Duke?
No, Marquis. It's Marquis. Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount.
I'm going to go with Marquis. That's what I'm putting my money on. And if he's an earl, he's a very, very, very wealthy earl. But I do believe he's a marquis with how the mamas are acting. We saw how they were like flocking with the Duke and that kind of thing. And I think it's a little bit different because not that he's not as handsome as the Duke, but the Duke is like next level, 10 out of 10, unrealistic levels of godlike appearance. So I think it's a little bit different. And he doesn't talk about plants, and he eats meat. So I think that the Duke doesn't fit into society, but he's what society expects of him to be. Like a rake, I can tame a rake, that's fine. But weird, I can't really tame weird. So yeah, I think they treat him a little bit differently. But let's move on. So it symbolizes growth and protection. It is air purifying and low maintenance. It is part of the lily family, and the most interesting part of all was used as a natural remedy for bee sting, because Debling thinks that he is rectifying her bee sting issue by presenting himself. He is presenting himself as, I think he very, very much knows that there is something going on between Penelope and Colin. I think that he did his research. I think in his research, I think that they have said maybe that Penelope could potentially be in a secret engagement with Colin. Some of the deleted scenes certainly allude to the fact that Colin knows that they are more than friends, but he's unsure as to what exactly it is that they are.
No, Dream Colin says, "Don't worry, it has always been us."
The scene where he is drunken and he says, the deleted scene is where he is drunk and he says, "I would never dream of courting Penelope Featherington." He is drunk in that moment, but the scene description also says, like in his mind, he is thinking they are friends, are they not? But he is thinking that they are more, but he doesn't know what exactly to label it. Is it best friendship? Is it family?
He and Penelope,
engagement,
He and Penelope didn't, they said words during a dance, but they didn't have a chance to talk about it yet.
Yes.
Which is what I've always said. He
I will
saved
always
face
be
in
there
that
to
moment.
protect.
And yes, he
Yeah.
was drunk, but that's why the words came out the way they did. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it was protection, but he was drunk and he said it in a raucous, jovial way with the boys, you know?
Yeah. Because they weren't a safe space. And if you read the other deleted scenes, you would know very much that they are not a safe space because Fife is just a shit-ass human being.
We have D-bag Debling. What is an F for Fife?
Fuckface Fife.
Besides.
I'm just going to take it straight there.
I mean, and I'll tell you, like, you guys did God's work. What a Barb podcast, but I cannot condone.
I'm sorry, I just got a message from Di has just I just get a message. I spat my drink, hook up and finger bang, lol Tosh.
Oh yeah, it's Saturday.
Yeah, Di is just listening to our latest episode where I said finger bang. Sorry.
That's awesome.
Negative word for that.
Well, besides F-tard is
No, I said fuckface. I don't use the T
I know.
word. Facetious, no. Fussy, festering,
No.
finicky, feverish, fawning, fetid, fake,
festering,
false, fickle,
fetid, festering, Fife.
Yeah. Fallacious.
How's
fierce,
that for alliteration,
breathing.
Lady Whistledown?
Filthy, fanatic. Oh, I don't know this word. Vociferous, fascist. That one's not too far off. Fatalistic, flaccid, flaccid Five. I like it.
Festering,
flaky,
flaccid.
feral. Feral is now has positive connotations, not negative.
Positive connotations, yeah.
Floppy.
Flaccid, floppy,
Flaccid,
pie.
floppy pie.
That's why Lady Goring was only in the closet for a few minutes.
Flimsy.
So, anywho.
I'm just enjoying these synonyms way too much.
So, anywho, my whole thing is, yeah, I think he believed there was some sort of relationship and they had a falling out because he kind of says that later, but he acts like he's unaware that there was anything more than that.
Yeah.
But I think he knew there was. I think he did his research, obviously, because when he went up to her, he knew who she was.
Yeah.
At Danbury Ball. But I also, for me, that it's, treatment for bee sting. And what have we always what's the euphemism for the bee sting? It's because Colin's the bee in season 3. She's the sunflower. That the bee sting is, he's like, I do not want you pollinating with anyone. Yeah. No Colin Bridgerton for you.
Yeah. He's very much saying that here is your antidote to your problem, and that problem being your infatuation for Colin. I will replace that with your infatuation for basic bitch.
Well, no, he's saying, because he's not offering anything.
No.
He's providing a plant that is a remedy for a bee sting. Yeah. But because of what else this means, he is telling her, I will offer myself, but you're only going to get my money and my title.
Okay, so let me read out the rest of the symbolic meaning of this, because actually there is a fair bit on it. So, because this kind of stuff that we're talking about ties into this, so I want to get this part out first and then we can really dive in. However, its ornamental value, just ornamental, has long been recognized, making it a popular choice for adding a touch of green to homes and gardens. In modern times, it's appreciated for its aesthetic appeal and ease in which it brings a bit of nature indoors, which is exactly what he is doing for Penelope. When she announced to him that she does not appreciate nature outdoors, she likes watching it from her window. So that's exactly what he's doing. Forget the green thumb. This fern thrives on neglect. Bright, indirect sunlight and a sip of water when it's dry is all it asks for. It's the survivor of the plant world, bouncing back with ease. Wow. Because that is all that he is offering her. He is giving her a plant, which is a symbol for exactly what it is that he is offering her in marriage. I am offering you nothing. I will give you nothing. I will give you a few sips of water. I will give you very little sunlight. And she's a sunflower. Sunflowers require sunlight to survive. They require high doses of sunlight, in fact, and they follow the sun. They follow the sun, and Colin is the sun. Well, he's the moon,
Well,
but
and
you know
that's
what I
the
mean.
thing. Like, and this is just, this is how Debling sees her. And this is why I
Yeah.
think he chose her,
Hmm.
because he sees her as low hanging fruit. He sees her that she has survived off neglect,
Yeah.
that she has, because everything they had was in his belief system, hearing it from the Lord Squad was, secret and potentially just breadcrumbs and whatever, that he's found someone that is going to be willing to accept what little he has to offer. But if you listen to those three things, he's giving her a plant that he's saying, this is you,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
very little water, kid thrives off neglect. We already know Penelope thrives on neglect and only needs a little indirect sunlight. And she talks in this scene about her, like they talk about her favorite spot is sitting at the drawing room window.
Yes.
So she's basically like a plant in the
She's
window, and
saying,
he's
I
acknowledging that.
bask in the sunlight of the window daily. Like I bask in the sunlight and you're just offering
Oh,
me.
because she likes the view.
Yeah. Well, so does the sunflower. The sunflowers like the view of the sun. Pun. So in this moment, the Featherington sisters are kind of like still outside the door. They're baffled as to why Debling would be choosing Penelope. This is the first time I think that Portia is almost praising Penelope to her daughters because she's taking it as her own win. This is going to boost my social status. Like, your sister has allowed me to boost my social status. I'm going to climb off the back
Yes.
of her win and I'm going to claim it as my own.
Yes.
Because, I mean,
You
back then,
guys suck. You only got misters. Look at this
yeah,
dude that came for Penelope. She
second
did this.
sons.
She used the help of Colin Bridgerton because I don't believe she could have done it herself.
No.
But she considered me. That's exactly what Portia is saying.
Yeah.
She considered me, and what I have
Yeah.
said I wanted for you girls this whole time. She is successful. You guys were not successful.
You let me down, and she is now my favorite. And it's very much because from here on out, Penelope becomes the favorite. I love Penelope's look as the family walks into the room. She's like, oh, hi there. I'm with my lord. Suck it, guys. I win, you lose. You guys are losers. Big L on your foreheads. She deserved
she was
this
like,
win. I'm kind of glad that she went through this Debling thing because I feel like she kind of deserved the win, because I think even though Colin obviously emotionally is absolutely the win of the century, their connection, it doesn't matter who he is or what he is. Oh, sorry, it matters who he is, not what he is. It doesn't matter if he is a Bridgerton, doesn't matter if he's a third son or first son.
right.
That none of that matters. The win is the connection that they have. But I kind of love that she's gone through this little moment first to kind of like, I know you shouldn't brag and should be humble and all those sorts of things, but she has been humble she's been humbled her entire life. And this is a moment where she finally gets her flowers of,
yeah,
look what I can do.
I love this. I love this for her because when she does connect with Colin finally, the way Prudence treats it, Prudence is the one who said he wouldn't waste his ink on you.
Yes.
But she never acknowledges she was wrong ever. She's just like, how did you snag your Bridgerton? You know what I mean? Like, it's still negative. And
it's not. Oh,
it had to be.
She doesn't acknowledge
somebody
that they're in
else
love.
because yes, if Debling had not happened first, it would have been Colin took pity on you.
Yeah.
Right. But because Debling happened first, these girls are going, oh, somebody is interested in Penelope, like for real skis. He just came out of nowhere. He's not been in the ton for, out on the marriage mart, and he's not been a part of society every single year like they have been. So he genuinely has found something in Penelope that we know it isn't love, but it genuinely found a trait in her or
an interest
in something she can provide that they are trying to put their finger on. They can't understand it. But because he showed an interest and he was not part of society all this time, when she does get with Colin, there's not as much, because I honestly think it would have been, oh, Colin Bridgerton pitied her. He's so kind. Just like it was with when the secret came out about him helping her find a husband and how he was so kind for doing that. Nobody, he was not going to get
but the irony
vilified
is the thing that he finds interesting about her is the thing that they can never fathom that would be interesting to anyone, because Portia has taught them that knowledge is not power for a woman. Knowledge
intelligence
weakens a
is
woman.
not power.
Your intelligence on how to run a household, your intelligence of how to manage people, your intelligence on how to be cruel to others and manage teach them by
How to
being
scheme.
cruel, how to scheme, how to social climb. Those are the things that they value. They have never valued intelligence. They've never valued having their own thoughts. They've never valued having opinions and interests and passions in life. They have only ever valued what Portia has taught them is valuable. Whereas Penelope, as Debling said, has stepped outside the box. She has interest. She has passion. She has creativity. She has intelligence. And as much as you don't like him, he does see those things in her. And I at least value that he sees a good thing. He still chooses Penelope over Cressida.
In all of my healing journey, one of the number one things like you learn about a narcissist is that they are attracted to very powerful, intelligent, vibrant women because ultimately
if you break down a weak woman, it's not a win.
But they see it as they are attracted to all of those traits because they wish they had those traits in themselves. Mm-hmm. Like for me,
they like to pass off it as their own.
Being a problem solver, being somebody who, I have this toxic trait of I'm not a quitter, type of thing. So
it'll kill me before I quit thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen me this week? I don't know. I'm still walking.
This is only for YouTube. I'm just pointing at myself. But seriously, narcissists are attracted to that, but those traits in a woman are what they end up attacking when they get to the devalue stage. But they almost always are attracted to very successful, usually successful in some sort of job, either make a lot of money or they're very resourceful. Very intelligent,
that job.
Hold power somehow. They create a status for the narcissist that they don't have themselves. And he sees Penelope as in touch with society because she seems to weave in and out of people. Like this is his first knowledge of her. And when she walked in the room on the day he officially met her,
people are talking about you. If people are talking about you, whether positively or negatively, it means that they are interested in you and you hold power over them because you are holding their interest enough for them to talk about you.
When he first laid eyes on her,
everyone stopped and turned.
Everyone stopped and turned their head.
It was the Cinderella moment.
That was like Christmas Vacation when they find the tree and the sun is coming down on it. The sunlight, this is the family tree.
One of the deleted scenes from What a Barb that they covered was Lady Tilly was meant to, at the Bridgerton engagement party, she was meant to enter late after everyone else, and she was meant to have a very Cinderella moment of walking in. She has a very plunging neckline, which is not common for that time. It was very risque to have such a deep cut.
That was even, the engagement party, hers was even lower than Alice's, and Alice's have been really low.
Yes. So she was meant to have sort of a Cinderella moment, but they decided to cut it because obviously we need to get our Cinderella moment with our Sophie next season. So they couldn't do Cinderella twice. And they already had Penelope.
Well, and we already have
moment.
Penelope's story with the two stepsisters is very Cinderella.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to play that next season, but so that whole fern that
it's not Cinderella next season, it's Ever After.
It's a very specific brand of Cinderella. But this is season 2 is Cinderella, childhood Cinderella, where we've got the sisters that very, very, very much exactly what we have in this season. And then, we're going to very much, and then season 4 is going to be specifically Ever After's version of Cinderella. So we're going to get 2 retellings of Cinderella. Ever After is my favorite retelling ever, and you can fight me on that because Posey is 100%.
I love Ever After.
I can't remember her name, but the chick from 2.5
Something
Men.
Linsky.
Yeah.
From Yellow Jackets.
Well,
and
to me, she's 2.5 Men.
Yeah. And she's married to Jason Ritter, John Ritter's son.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. So
Melanie Linsky.
Thank you. I was like Melinda. I'm like, that's not quite right. So she is 100% Posey, and I wish that she could be young enough to still play Posey, but she's like probably 50 years old or something now. So I mean, Penelope playing a 19-year-old is really pushing the realm. A 50-year-old playing a 19-year-old's probably a little bit out of their realm of even Bridgerton capabilities. Though she doesn't really age, to be fair. Like she's pretty ageless.
Give me the right filter.
Yeah.
I know I could play 19 because I remember being 19
I
clearly.
mean, when you cover up my gray hairs and slap on some makeup and whatnot, like I pass as much, much younger.
I just need those special potions to get rid of the bags under the eyes.
I think we need a less stressful life, no children and no husbands in order to get rid of those. Right?
Okay. Are we
Okay.
done? Are we done with the plant? Because I'm
No, we're
ready.
not. No, we're
Oh, dang it.
not.
My son's going to be done.
I know. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate all of the things that we get in this plan is it is a huge symbolism, and if you just looked at it for what it is on the surface of being he's bringing her a plant, you can really miss this deep symbolism they have twined through. I'm still of the belief that nothing in Bridgerton is accidental, and I don't think there is a chance in hell. So back then, everyone knew that natural remedies were pretty much their only option. This is 1800s. They did not have modern medicine. They did not have penicillin. They did not have antidotes to things. They had very little. They had, what is that? It's not NyQuil. It's the one for
Opium.
pain. Yeah, but it's got a specific name. They always give it.
Laudanum.
Thank you. That's
I
pretty
feel
much
like Anthony, like lilacs. Like
Forget me not.
Laudanum.
Forget me nots is what I need to have yelled at me all the time because I forget everything and I'm tired. Yes. So back then, and we see this in Benedict's book actually, because his son becomes really sick, very unwell, and he is at
Eloise's book.
Eloise's book. Sorry, thank you. Sorry. It's a story about Benedict, but it's in Eloise's book.
Yeah.
So his son is essentially going to die. He's at very real risk of not making it through the night. He's in deep fever. He's really sick. And Sir Philip happens to know of a certain bark, and I think it's actually a willow tree bark, in which he goes and fetches and feeds it to Benedict's son. And by the next morning, the fever has broken, and he comes out of it, and he survives. That very much tells us the level of medicine that they had in the 1800s. Where they are very much reliant on natural medicinal naturopathic kind of medicine. So I think that Lord Debling, being a naturalist, he would very much have the knowledge of the medicinal properties of each of the trees, ferns, because back then
there was a language to flowers, there's a language to plants.
Yes.
So and everybody knew it.
Plants and animals are completely entwined as well. So even though he is not a botanist like Sir Philip, you would still have a pretty good understanding of botany in order to be able to understand how the whole ecosystem, because if this flower or plant dies and that's the main food source of the animal that you were trying to save, then you've got nothing. So you have to understand the whole kind of ecosystem. So he would have a big understanding about botany as well.
Well, and I pose that as somebody who chooses to travel to remote areas, he's like a survivalist, so he would have to know this stuff anyway.
What's going to kill him? Because if
he's going to need to know what's going to kill him, what isn't. He's going to need to know what he can use.
He's going to die.
Debling dies.
Debling dies.
He's got to know. He's got to know what he can use for medicine, where he's at. He's got to be able to recognize it. So I guarantee he knows. There's no way he's going to travel to these remote places, because he said he chooses remote places to get away with from his family. So this isn't the first trip he's been on. He said he's about to be on a boat with his crew again in a couple of weeks. So
I think he's chosen the Great Orc, but I think people misunderstand that is all that he is interested in. But he is a naturalist and a preservationist. So this is just his current fixation, not his only fixation. So he would very much have an understanding.
I think he is a champion of lost causes. I think that is another reason why he chose Penelope, because he sees her as a lost cause. Kind of like what Cressida said of he sees her as an animal that needs saving. A
wounded animal, yeah.
I don't see it like that. I think he sees her as a lost cause like everyone else does. The whole ton sees her as a lost cause. So he's trying to, quote unquote, save her because he likes to save these. The Great Auk is a lost cause. It's going to go extinct. And I think from that point in time, like 20 years or something.
No. It is it's in my feature notes. Okay,
I'm
getting there. Okay, it's in my note.
I just want to say that in the off season, in the off pod, I corrected her about how many years Odysseus was gone. I'm just gonna say
we're not up to that yet. Follow the notes, Patti. I require structure in my life and you aren't structuring me. Okay, so now we can move on to the next part, which is to Patty's.
Journals.
Okay. It then
well,
cuts
and truthfully,
Colin, it then cuts the scene cuts to Colin reading over his journal. Take it away, Patti.
Okay, so first of all, I'm nursing a migraine right now because I'm still deciphering the second page. Because when you watch him and it zooms in, he's looking at a first page and he flips the page. And there's a second page, and there's really some things that I really want to figure this out, because if it says what I think it says.
Well, okay, so we're at just over the hour mark at the moment, and then by the time I take out the Trinicate silence and that kind of thing, it does cut it down a fair bit. But I think that we're going to keep this as a short episode because I just want to focus on
the big stuff.
The big stuff. I think we are so deep into this. It is going to be a shorter episode. I know, a rarity for us. And I say that, and then we're probably going to go ahead and do another hour just on Patty's stuff that she's about to go through. But I think there is a lot of symbolism in this episode. And so I don't want to miss anything. I want to deep dive into everything. And Lord Fuller's collection, which is our next scene after this one, that needs to be a whole episode on its own because it has a whole bunch of stuff happening.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in that one.
Scroll. I also want to dig more into a deep story. Before we go back, I want to go back and reread it once again. I had Cliff's version, and that's not me. I have read the book, but not since I was in high school. We're not going to count back how many years ago because I will cry. Count how many gray hairs there is. That's how many years ago. So Patti, don't fear not, because we're just going to focus on your portion for the rest of this episode. And if we need to go through and do another little snippet once found the additional information before
I think what I'll do is kind of like we did with episode 2, I brought up we read a little snippet in one pod up, and then I brought it up again as I got more stuff. So I think
what I mean
I've got a big chunk.
We're a month ahead at the moment, so we've got an entire month before I actually have posted this episode. So what I'm saying is, you can go away today. When you come back, we could do our second episode, and then at a later date we can record it once you have that additional information, and we can just snip it into the end portion of this episode, because it doesn't have to come out for a month. So I've got plenty of time to edit it and then add in your bit additionally. So don't feel like we're not going to get to it. So we'll just get through as much as we can, and then we can add your additional insights. So Patti is for all the weird and wonderful little research that I do, Patti does the deep dives on, she gets out her Dragon Ball Z impersonation of the what do they call it?
If this ever gets on YouTube, I'm gonna be like, I have this one.
No. It's the one that looks like the Power Reader from Dragon Ball Z that they put on their eyes. Yeah, it is exactly. I'm going to make a meme of it. I need a picture of you in that so I can put up my meme and post it to the episode description for the day. Patty's reading her power levels of her enemies. She is about to vanquish.
And it does. And I had to take a long break, as you know, because I was getting daily migraines trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting one right now. I'm fighting a headache.
As opposed to me writing my notes till 4 a.m. every day.
Right. So I'm going to read this chunk. The first paragraph, I can't get a bunch of that. I can catch some words.
So wait. You haven't done any introduction into this, Patti. So Colin is
I jumped into it. We're talking journal. I did too. I said I got the 2 pages, but I'm only doing the first page.
Patti is reading the journals that are on the desk. We get this over. What do you call that view when it's like an overhead?
It's an aerial, it's overhead view.
Yeah, we get this aerial view.
And there's a reason. And I'll say this first. The reason I decided to do this is because there's so many things on the desk. And if you look at the desk, there is legit a letter of some sort with writing on it that a magnifying glass is on top of. So I felt like that was a hint, hey, you need to see what's on this desk. And you do. Now, I got into the journals because I do believe there's stuff in there that is notable that we need to know. And I really do.
Journals first.
Yeah, I really do think the second page has the juice, and I'm working on that still. So I don't want to say too much. But this one is more about his inner thoughts about himself. But you got to remember too, I think whenever he is talking about them, he's really talking about Pen. He's just
Yes.
concerned about what eyes might ever see this.
And Patti will write out like a recreation of what she has read, or at least what she believes. And we can like highlight words that we're not entirely sure of, but we will post to our Ladies Bridgerton page.
Yeah.
So that everyone can read this for themselves.
Well, and like in the first paragraph,
We just need a watermark it with the Ladies Bridgerton to make sure that no one can try to take this information for their own.
The one line I can really read is if everything or if anything, it makes me like want to figure out who I am meant to be or something like that. And then it says something out of nothing. The word something and the word nothing is there. So that kind of leads into this paragraph that I have most of it. And I will say blank when I'm not sure the word, as I did before. So, and I don't have my notebook in here where I wrote it out. So I'm literally reading this from my picture. It's a, if I am honest, I have always felt unsure about who I truly am, who I am meant to be. I often find that that's either feel or fit. And I can't tell those next two words. So blank, blank. It's like, with others or something like that. By always being to them thoughtful or funny,
I
or
fit
kind.
with others would make sense. I feel like I fit with others if I'm being thoughtful.
Yeah, I fit with others
because that leads into what Violet says at the end. You know, the end of this episode. Well, not,
yeah,
sorry,
but yeah. I believe it's that too, and that's why I think others and them is Penn specific, because he is not thoughtful or funny or kind with Fife and that group.
No, it's with his family and with Penn.
Right. So, and that's mainly who he missed on his travels. And this is very much a Colin's been lonely for a while type of journal.
Lonely boy.
So
XOXO Gossip Girl.
I often find that I fit with others by always being to them thoughtful or funny or kind. But it is when you are alone that you realize how dependent that makes you on them and how empty you feel when blank, I'm not sure that word, no longer missing without you or without your word from others, it's some or need for others or something like that. Then it says, I do not want to need them anymore or miss their, not sure of that word. No, I think it starts with an F, but it's not friendship. And then it says, and it's something that looks like one long word, but it's actually two words. And then me is at the end. So, or miss the something, like basically something they give him. Then it says, I want them to need me, to miss my blank. I'm not sure of that word. Friendship. And then the next one, there's light shining on the page. So you're not getting a lot of that one either, but the word empty is on there again. So he's feeling very lonely and he's acknowledging that he doesn't know who he is without the people in his life that he loves. And he knows when he knows what he does that makes him feel the best, which is being thoughtful, funny, and kind to them. But he believes that those traits are not what they're looking for, because when he's absent, no one is writing him. So they must not really need him at all. They don't need these traits from him. They don't need these things from him. And he's really struggling with, because he doesn't know who he is purpose-wise or anything like that. This is what he brought to the table. Mm-hmm. So he's feeling really insecure about himself. And so the Colin that comes home is, all that swagger is fake. That is armor, because he has been made to feel so low by the lack of consideration of the people in his life. Now we know why Penelope did it, because at the end of season 2, she says silence speaks, and she's going to have to use silence, because as Lady Whistledown, she's always written, and she was going back to being Lady Whistledown. But there's a line at the end of season 2 after Colin says what he says, where she basically says, silence also is communication, or you can speak with silence, and she's going to have to do that now. So she's acknowledging she's got to cut Colin off. And her absence, truly, as we know with what he said to Cressida, her absence is what creates this loneliness in him
Yeah.
that starts making him question who he is fundamentally, because he thought that the traits he knows he has, that he has always shown to Penelope, were what made him feel good about himself. And now she's got nothing to do with him. So he's floundering.
And it's really, I really wish that they had dug more into this in the season rather than us having to go and dig deep, and microscope deep
and the
and
other
search for these parts.
And remember this journal entry, and obviously on the second page, some things I found, I think, start playing into him realizing that the person whose opinion he misses and view of him he misses, like it's like an allegory about it being Paris. And what do we know about Paris? It's the most romantic city in the world. So there's some things, and I'm still working on that.
But dressing like a Parisian woman.
Well, and that's why I think why he brought up Paris.
Well, you know, the whole dress for the job you want. She's dressing for the job she wants, and that's to be Colin's Parisian woman.
And I think that Paris is where he made his decision, because the word plan is on the next page.
Yes.
The word plan exists.
Crafty Colin's coming out.
So this plays into other things on the desk.
I was about to say, Patti, are you going to leave us hanging any longer? This is
what I've been holding
find.
on. And this actually fits. I've literally not seen this anywhere on the internet, and I've been holding onto it like Penelope holding on to her secret identity, guys.
We are clutching our pearls.
Colin Bridgerton has correspondence from Walter Dundas.
And tell me, Patti, what is the revelation? How does that have any part?
It says to one Mr. Bridgerton, I, Walter Dundas, on behalf of Her Majesty, and that's all you can see. But what do we know that what is Mr. Dundas doing?
Researching into the Featherington family to uncover their lies and secrecy and their sketchy dealings to strip them of their title.
He specifically wants to strip her of
his vendetta.
The title.
Yeah.
He has a vendetta. And he told her specifically, I'm going to prove your current money is the fraud money, that your cousin didn't do it alone, that you did it, you have the money. I'm going to prove that. So we know, what do we know? We know he is reaching out to the people that invested, because we know Colin invested in the mines. Well, we believe he did. He at least withdrew the money. We're not sure if he actually gave it, because I think he would have been a little more mad about it.
I think there would have been paperwork being drawn up, and if there was any sort of paperwork trail, then Walter Dundas would have. So we had a brief intermittence there as Patti ran to pick up her son from work. But I believe that. Oh, why is my camera out of focus now? Behave.
If we ever do get these up on YouTube, I just want to say, like, I know I noticed you put your hair back and stuff, because
I was cleaning.
Your goddesses were eating your hair in the earlier bits. Your hair was coming back like around and straight.
They were really annoying me because I need to wash my hair. But as mums know, like, you have to plan that. When I want to wash my hair, I want to have a relaxing experience. And the last shower that I took, it was just over an hour of me scrubbing my bathroom tiles and grouting and ceramics. And it was not a relaxing experience. So I did not wash my hair because I deserve myself the full body treatment of relaxation. So I tied my hair back.
That's the second shower bath. And I don't know if this is a man thing too, but it definitely is a woman thing. And a neurodivergent thing, because I was talking to her about, there's a neurodivergent content creator that talks about how most neurodivergents struggle with showers, because we don't look at it as, I wake up, I take a shower. You have to take your clothes off. You have to decide what parts of the shower you're going to do. Are you washing your hair? Are you shaving? Are you this? Are you that? So she said she has 3 different showers she takes. She's not a bath person, this content creator.
I only have a shower.
I don't remember what the second one is called, which is what her main type of showering is. But the first one is the quick rinse. That's where she barely can get out of bed. She's barely alive
You're
today.
doing the bare minimum to get to your hygiene
minimum. And then the one where she does all the things, the plucking and the shaving and the
The works,
exfoliating
yeah.
and she calls it the fluff and buff.
The fluff and buff,
But
yeah.
Samantha was telling me that she was taking a bath the other day and she was doing all the things. And she goes, why is it that I only got my right leg shaved from my ankle to my mid calf and my razor broke in half?
No.
And I'm like, no, because when you finally wrap your head around, you're doing the fluff and buff. Like
I think I would probably resort to dire measures and try and get out like a flamethrower to like get rid of the rest of the hairs. I cannot have one leg smooth and one leg hairy or half a leg smooth. I would be like, no, you are coming off one way or another. I'm either getting out my kitchen chef knife, I'm getting out a flamethrower. You are coming off me. This is not the situation that's going to be. So basically,
getting out the kitchen chef knife and going back to the Bridgerton times.
Yeah. Basically in the time that Patti, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go have a quick pee break while you go pick your son up from work. And in the time that she was gone, I went and took 6 pillows outside because I have someone coming to pick them up as I sold them. I went and re-scotch guarded my kitchen chairs. I recovered my strawberry plants with netting to protect the strawberries from the... Oh, is that someone at my door? And then I tidied up my entire lounge. I put away all the blankets, put all the cushions back where they're supposed to be. Because men mix and match the cushions. The big cushions with the little, the big cushions are for that side, the little cushions are for that side. Because if you put the big cushions on that side, you can't fit on the couch properly and comfortably. But men don't think about these things. No. And then I picked up all my son's toys, put them all away, moved the box somewhere where I can actually get through my lounge, and then did my potty break, and then came back. Oh, the chaos about my potty break.
About my cantaloupe.
Cantaloupes, what color? Rock melon or honeydew? Show me. Orange. That's, Rocky Rock. I'm not a cantaloupe person. I like the green sweet. I love watermelon. I mean, I will eat it, but I find it has
honeydew has no flavor.
See, if I do, we call it rock melon over here, the orange. For me, it has to be cut fresh, because if it has those mushy bits on them at all, if it's any part soft, if it's unflavored, if it's got that crystallized flavor, I'm a no. It's a no for the dog.
I have mango too, but I think that I got a beautiful mango. I think they were both cut when they weren't quite ripe yet.
Yeah, they do that.
So it's got kind of a
gritty, stringy.
Like no, it's like they sprayed it with something. I want to say like probably like a lemon vinegar kind of mixture is what it tastes like to me.
Yeah.
Like so that it doesn't, because it was vacuum sealed in this thing.
Yeah.
So I think they knew they cut it too early. They didn't want it to, I think they sprayed it with something that they thought might help it ripen until it's sold.
Yeah.
And now it is riper. It's still crunchy. It's not really crunchy, but you know what I mean. Hard.
Yeah.
In some spots, but it's got that. I mean, it really does just smell like lemon and vinegar.
They would have done it in lemon. It helps preserve it for longer. It's why they do it. Usually, it's not so much.
Yeah, but I can smell the vinegar. It's straight like salad dressing. It's like they doused it in salad dressing.
That's gross. I wonder if it's actually sat for too long and it's actually gone a little bit rancid. Created that as a byproduct, not vinegar.
Well, thanks, Tosh. Now I'm not going to eat it at all.
I wouldn't. Well, I find if you eat fruit when it's not right, it will give you the runny run.
I might lose weight. No, I'm not going to eat it.
So I have 10 minutes arrives. Let's dig in. Do we want to just chit chat? Let's excuse the brief interruption that we had there that ended up being not so brief. We are 2 busy mums doing life and trying to record around those busy lives. So where we left off was Walter Dundas writing to Colin in regards to what we can only presume to be information about Jack Featherington, trying to uncover whether the Featherington families were complicit, as in Portia and potentially her children as well, but mostly Portia, whether she was complicit in the scheme with Jack, and whether the funds that she is currently living on are indeed the money from the ton.
Yes. So, and we know like Dundas he's only had 2 roles this season. 1 is investigating Portia. 2 is welcoming the Mondricks into their new life.
Yeah, settling them into their new finances.
So which one of those would cause him to write Colin Bridgerton, who we know in season 2 withdrew money for the potential of investing in Jack's mines. We don't have, I personally think he withdrew the money, but he never actually invested it because when he confronts Jack, he says, you will give them back all of their money.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything about his own money. So I don't think he ever officially, I think he had to make everything look good.
He was getting all his ducks in a row.
But we also don't, and I think he withdrew the money because if it turned out not to be a scheme, he was going to invest because it would help his future. With Penn. But we never hear of him putting it back. And we know from the what a barb, like Miss Scene thing is that Benedict is irritated with all of the changes Antony made when he made him the
executive to
the Viscount at Lytham or whatever.
Yeah. By proxy.
Yeah, by proxy. So he had to do like 46 or 47 signatures. And we know from earlier in the season that when they went to Mondrix for the day drinking, he said he brought Benedict specifically for how well he took care of things while he was gone on honeymoon. So we know he would have been proxy then as well. And all his I's were dotted and T's were crossed.
I would say that they would have made it far more official when he went to India because it's a pretty tumultuous passage, and taking such a big boat ride, you are very much at risk of dying. India had at that time, I think, malaria and a few other things going on, which,
well, and the trip itself is dangerous enough. Boat travel then was
so I think they had to put in that.
But I also think that the way they read the script and how Benedict irritation at all of the signatures, I think Antony probably put in a few things. And we do hear later that he's got a sign for a large expenditure for Colin. And that just may be because he has now learned that Benedict and Colin have gotten closer and Benedict is a little more free flow. Yeah. I think it didn't go unnoticed that he gave Benedict the nod to know that what the news was the true news, so that Benedict found out before Antony. And so Antony was like, fine then, Colin can't do nothing without you signing off on it, buddy.
Not to mention, it's large enough. Benedict gave away Antony's love nest.
True that. Like,
welcome to the love shack, Bridgerton love shack.
I mean, really, while Antony was gone to Devon, which is not far, like he was technically, he wouldn't have been a proxy necessarily while Antony was in Devon, but Colin's got that key.
Yeah.
And somebody had to do it. Colin could not walk into their solicitor and say, hey, I need a key to the Bloomsbury house.
Yeah.
That had to go through someone.
Let's talk about why this letter to Dundas is so important, because it's not just a letter. There's symbolism behind the meaning, and it also gives us really important information that we need to know as to why Colin is allowing this courtship to go on between Penelope and Lord Debling. It is of no coincidence that they have cut straight from Lord Debling courting Penelope in the Featherington house straight to showing us Colin going over his letters and showing us that letter. It was for a very specific reason. Take it away, Patti.
Well, I have a couple of things that this plays into. So, one, why does Colin almost waste away to nothing, practically dying of a broken heart, before his mom kicks him in his pants and says, this isn't what Pem wants. She needs you to step up, kind of thing, Colin is not dumb. He knows, after reading this letter, he knows that the Featheringtons have money, that they've been out shopping. Penn's got all new clothes. So he knows that money's coming from somewhere. The possibility of it being, now, I think at this point, he probably isn't even questioning whether Penn knows or not. He just thinks Portia is shady.
Yeah.
And that explains his attitude towards her later.
Yeah.
Not just that she was dressing Penn down, but imagine coming in and hearing her saying all this stuff to Penn, knowing what you know, knowing what Dundas
Well, I
told
mean,
you,
with
possibly.
with the
I
kind
mean,
of personality that Portia has, it is extremely plausible that the Featherington girls had no clue about anything. Portia is very much a sole conniver, and well, not sole because she usually has Barley
well, I
in
don't
on it
think I
too.
don't think Prudence and Philippa knew or figured it out, because even when she brought up
I don't think Prudence or
Philippa's
Philippa even
dowry was
care.
back, dowry, she was like, when did I lose my dowry? Like,
Yeah,
she was confused.
they're
But
not perceptive.
Penn had her finger on things. Like, she caught a few things. Did she truly know about the fraud scheme? No. She was like, you did what? Like, she was surprised. But I don't think at that point Colin would have thought she potentially could be involved. But he knows that if Dundas figures this
Well,
out, which and remember, he's the only person in the ton
mhm,
that knows it was
mhm.
fraud. The only one. There was only 3 people in that room. So he's got this letter, and we know later that when Dundas confronts her again, he said he got nowhere regarding her current money, except to find out that it did not come from her deceased aunt. So he knows
That was Aunt
that
Joanne,
part.
wasn't it?
No, Joanne is Cowper's.
Yeah.
Her is auntie some.
Yeah.
So he knows that the money didn't come from her because it would have paid her debtors first.
Yeah.
So he knows that Portia's lying. He doesn't need the other part. But he specifically says the other part, which the other part would have been reaching out to all the people that invested and, hey, did you get any of your money back? Who did you communicate with? Did you potentially communicate with Portia Featherington at any point in time? Kind of thing. And if you think back to what their plan was, the plan was that she would talk up his mind, and then she would send people to him when they sounded interested. So she was involved, and people would end up saying that, but he said he got nowhere. So I have a feeling that Colin, who knew it was fraud, wanted to protect Penn and kind of squash that part, just with his influence as a Bridgerton potentially.
Yes.
But he knows it's fraud, and he has a letter from Dundas where Dundas thinks that Portia was involved.
He was going after families on the outskirts of society, not those who were highly respected in society, because they knew that the more respect that a person has in society, the greater the downfall if they get.
Well, yes and no. In the end, the last and only person that he needed to invest that he finally talked her into was Colin. And then he said they'd saturated Mayfair. So they literally had investors from everyone. Even Cowper invested. And I think that's part of their money issues this season, and why he is cutting. Okay, we have less money. Cressida is not getting anywhere. We're going to cut your Modi's allowance and all that stuff. So we know Cowper invested. We know Colin invested. We know a lot of these other small lords invested. We know Fife invested. So I think that he probably knows, like, all these people are getting these letters, and he knows the most. So he already knows it's fraud. He already figured out it was fraud. He already confronted Jack that it was fraud, and he thought in that room we know he was talking about Penelope, but he thought he was talking about these ladies Featherington, only to find out that Portia is potentially involved. And he knows by the way that Penelope acted that she was not involved.
Yeah.
At this time. And I will say that again, at this time. Because what does he find out later? That Penn's really good at lying and keeping a secret. So all of the lies you told me potentially could be the I've loved you since the day I met you, but it could also be her acting like she was so surprised.
Well, and because it was straight after he rescued her from Jack Featherington that they shared their "you are special to me, I will always protect you" kind of.
So he doesn't know what to believe.
So he's thinking, he feels, were these sentiments just to distract me away from, hey, I know that I was involved in the scheme over here, but look over here, I love you. You know, so he might be thinking,
you're special to me. Oh, you're astonishing. Yeah.
So I think
I think he knows it's fraud. He now thinks Portia is involved, and he wants, how can Penelope be saved? Because does he give a crap about Portia? No. He wants Penelope to come out all right. The other 2 sisters are already married. They're their husband's problem.
Yeah.
He's concerned about Penny. He's always said he would watch out for her. And at this point, we know he loves her. We know he's loved her forever, but the whole world knows, the audience knows he loves her now. So he is thinking this through, like, what is her best outcome. And she had turned from him already and in his mind chose Debling. And she walked on that dance floor and he couldn't speak. And he'd already, at that point, he had already thought, look, he's titled. That's, that's what your mother wants. Look, he's got money. That's what your mother wants. And I think that this cemented that thought process even more. Like, I cannot protect her from her mother's scheming, her mother's conniving. Her mother is going to cost them everything they have. They're going to lose their estate. They're going to lose the title. They're going to be booted out of Mayfair.
But not just that, but if he married Penelope and this happened, he doesn't care about her sisters or her family, but he does care about his family, and that would also ruin the prospects. Lord Samadani would disappear.
Eloise,
Lord Kilmartin would disappear. Any future prospects for Eloise or even Hyacinth one day would disappear because they would then be tainted with this scheme.
And not just that, sorry, mango mouth, not just that, his walking out of the ballroom was at least noticed by Fife. Him taking Penn to the dance floor after they returned was noticed by Fife. That was one of the deleted scenes that Waterbub covers, is the fact that Fife was laughing at them dancing on the dance floor together. Yes. So they very publicly...
Fuckface Fife strikes again.
Fuckface Fife. So they had this very public coming together. People would have seen Jack and Portia also leave. Right? So if you think about that timing, Fife being conniving himself, he's probably thinking Colin took Penn out to canoodle somewhere, like he would, taking somebody to the closet. Mom and Jack find them. They come back and they hit the dance floor, and he's probably thinking, oh, now they're courting because they have to. I'm going to get the juice. But because this was so public, Colin is thinking, yeah, if I propose, if I marry Penelope, I get what I want. She still has the Bridgerton money. She's protected. I don't care about Portia, but their whole family's ruined. Our family's ruined because everybody saw me leave with her. Jack and Portia follow. Those are the people involved. Then it's going to look like the Bridgerton were involved with the fraud. Not so much that about his relationship with Penn, but that it would tie the Bridgertons to this. So at first he's like, suck it up, Buttercup. Debling's the dude, right? I've got to if that's what she wants, and I think this is what's going to be the answer to everybody's prayers, right? Then that's why he decides he needs revelry and tries to go back to this rakey life, or I don't think he was really truly being a rake, but trying to go back down that other path to put the armor back on, but the armor just doesn't fit the same anymore. And he really starts wasting away. And in the end, he loves her so much that he just can't let her marry Debling because it's not fair to her. In the end,
was Antony's armor. It was never something that was going to fit Colin. He's putting it on. It doesn't fit. It feels clunky. It's uncomfortable. It's hurting him.
Right. So I think in the end, he's like, we can get through this together. I can love her through it. The Bridgertons.
I think it gets to a point where he realizes all the love and all the money and protection in the world is nothing compared to the amount of protection he can give her through his love. That, at the end of the day, he has done his part in throwing Dundas off. I think he would have run back to Dundas, and I think he would have done everything in his power to dissuade any attention from the Featheringtons.
Well, and we see Colin is friendly with most of the Lord Squad in some way, shape, or form. And I think that with at least those
can we use the word acquainted with?
Well, yeah, acquainted with. I mean, he's somebody they seek out, at least Wilding and Stanton often. And we know that when he has, we've seen him on the dance floor and stuff. We've seen him around Basilio and all of that stuff. So I think that people have a high regard for him, regardless of level of friendship. That I think he used that influence probably to say,
I wish that we saw more of that. I wish he was out and it wasn't just a gaggle of women. I wish we saw, Bridgerton, good old Bridgerton here for a good laugh, because that was something that was really in the books. Like, he was really outgoing, really friendly, not just with women. It was with everyone. Everyone liked him. He was that likable brother. He was jovial. He was fun. He
Yeah.
brought the good
But
energy
they
to a
needed
party.
him. They needed him to be not an outcast, but kind of the odd duck. Like
Yeah.
his sensitivity made him an odd duck. That people were only friends with him. Kind of like you have that.
Oh, I
Mhm.
think that Colin has written
Just
back to
mark this down.
Dundas.
Remember this one. You have to mark out my. I should have said pause, but it was irking me. I had to get rid of it.
I know the feeling well.
But
I
I just think that we know that he would have done everything possible to thwart Dundas. Colin didn't need that getting out to the world. He didn't need that getting out to Whistledown because he doesn't know that Penn is Whistledown at the. He's doing everything to try and protect that. And I think he would have used his influence like, hey, you're going to get a letter from this guy. He's trying to say that Lady Featherington's inheritance from her aunt is that money. And I think this is coming from, we know it's coming from the Cowpers, right? So, he's like, it's coming from somebody who has a beef with the Featheringtons. And like, I just think we just need to, like Penelope's been through enough or whatever, play on their sympathies or whatever he would have done. However, he would have gone about it. Or no, I mean, we already know Colin bribed Ray, right? So who's to say he doesn't bribe the people, like the kids who pass around Whistledown? That's how mail, like servants delivered mail.
Mm-hmm.
So Dundas's letter probably would have come the same day. He would have known it would have gone to other people. He probably used Ray or something to get some of these letters back.
I'm actually surprised that that's not how they introduced Nicholas and his sibling Mondrick, because they would have been prime candidates to be delivering mail and such things to earn little pen money for the family before becoming affluent. Before affluency affected them.
Yeah, like, I mean, I would be interested. It's all speculation right now about how he would have thwarted that side, but Dundas said he got nowhere in trying to prove, like, if he could, I think his goal was to equate the investment money with how much her current standing was and, doing some subtraction for what they had on account or what their accounts looked like at the Modiste or whatever. Because he would have gotten access to all that as an agent of Her Majesty.
Yeah.
Then he could have done the math and he could have said,
I don't think he would have done that because if he'd been up to Genevieve, sorry, my husband calling, pause. Okay, brief order dinner. I think this scene was really, really important, even though it didn't even register as a, even though it didn't register as a, they didn't focus on it, they didn't bring attention to it other than the microscope, but really you couldn't just read that. You had to go in with your microscopes and pay really special attention. No one else on the internet, no one else on the internet is looking at this, is talking about this. So obviously it was obscure enough that it took us little nerdy queens to come in with our tunnel vision.
And I mean, it plays so much into his arc the whole second half because he gets what he wants. He finds out she reciprocates his feelings. They are engaged. He gets to dress down Portia without bringing it up because he wants to protect Penn from it. He doesn't want Penn to know, but he knows. And this plays into even in episode 6, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, when he comes and he's so worried about Penn, he gives Portia the side eye, and then when he leaves, he doesn't even acknowledge her. He just stalks right past her. He has no respect for her at this point, and this is why.
I wonder
we think it's just because of what she says to Penelope, but it's not. He's got this whole thing in the back of his head that she potentially was on Jack's side and was helping Jack defraud all of Mayfair and was just never regarding her daughters and their prospects and like with Patti Cannon and even Tosh Cannon, because we have different timelines of when we think feelings started, but we both agree that there were very real obstacles, and Colin was very.
I think that feelings were always there. I don't think he acknowledged them unto a certain push, like a certain part.
Yeah. I think he acknowledged them, but he realized like there was just too many ops because we see Colin's got a very charmed life. He's the third son and he kind of gets babied. So I think when something looks too hard, he's like, it's too hard for a reason. Yeah. if it's this hard, it's not meant to
I
be.
think he martyrs himself a little bit as well, to be honest. He's like, oh, well, if I marry Penelope, it's going to cause all these other problems with my family and her family. So it's too hard basket. If it was hard basket on him, he would be okay with that. But when his decisions negatively impact his family, like the Marina situation, that's when he has to stop and pause. I've already done damage to my family by being engaged to Marina with the whole pregnancy scandal. I cannot do this to my family again. I would bring shame upon them. That is not the kind of legacy that I want to leave. And I
Well,
think
and this fits into this scene too. I mean, I know we're mainly just talking about the journal and the letter. But this very scene too, like he's not confiding in his mother. He is not including his family in his journey for Penelope. He's because of Marina, they took over. They made decisions for him. They did not let his plan play out, right? Because I think Colin's a planner. Yes, there's chaos, Colin. As soon as he sees his in, he goes for it. But he thinks out and he plans out everything. So he had a plan with Marina that had an end game that he wanted, and his family just took over at the slightest sniff of scandal, and he got no say and he got no control in the situation. So I think that
he's being very selective about what he shares now.
Yeah, so he's being very selective. He doesn't want to tell them anything, doesn't want them. He doesn't want somebody to tell him no.
Yeah.
This is a problem. This will cause a problem.
I think he also wants to be the hero, as in, like, he wants to be the one to solve the problem. He wants to be the one to save Penelope, even though she wouldn't know that he was saving her through not marrying her. It's very convoluted, but I think he thinks, oh, well, if I do this and this and this, then I'm in the right. I'm doing the right thing by everyone here, and I'm the only one who suffers, so that's fine. I can put up with that. I can be lonely. I can go sleep with the prostitutes, but oh no, I can't sleep with prostitutes. Too in love with Penelope to do it. And I think he really, really tries to do.
Well, and I have I have a new thought on that one.
Okay, well, we will get when we get there soon. That will be in the next episode.
So I think he's not including his mother, and there's a lot of reasons, because he knows about Dundas. I think the reason he's keeping everybody out is because there's a lot going on. Think about the pressure that puts on his shoulders. I mean, yes, he came back a man. Like, he wants it to be like he's physically changed, but Colin has not changed all that much internally. He's still very young. This is a lot of pressure to put on
23.
him.
That is right. That is very young.
That's a lot. He's sitting there trying to problem solve by himself and figure out how to get to marry the woman he loves, protect her from potential scandal, potential ruin, potential everything. And he knows that Penelope loves her family, so he wants to protect them also. I think he's kind of like, if she's involved, I think she loves her family herself.
I don't think she likes.
Right, but I think he knows
they were very duty bound back then.
As close as she was to Eloise, it was not unheard of back then, if something was going on, for a young lady to come and stay with her friend or live with the family friend for a while. Penelope had never done that. So I think that he knows she loves her family enough that she's sticking by them. So he wants to try and protect them. Plus, he wants to try and protect the Bridgertons, but he also doesn't want Anthony to find out anything, because Anthony's already got a stick in his craw about Marina and Colin's impulsiveness and everything from before. So he's just got so much pressure on him. And then as it plays into the second half, as he's dealing with all this pressure of all of these moving parts, then he finds out she's Whistledown. His anger is justified, because just like Portia, he believes Portia's caused all these problems, but now he sees that Penelope has been her own worst enemy for quite some time. And he's been doing everything he can to protect her, but she's out there endangering herself. And I think that's why the outside the Modiste gets so heated, because he's like, look, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to do all these things, and you're working against me. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing out here? Yeah. Why are you endangering yourself? Like, he's just, it's all becoming too much for him, and it's overwhelming. Well, and
I think that
she's just not going to be the good wife of 1815.
No. And I think he does believe that Debling isn't a bad guy. He would make a suitable match. He's never going to love her, but I don't think he you know, like I think he doesn't like him, but that's because he knows that it's because of his own petty feelings. But I think he thinks that Debling is going to make a good match for Penelope. He's going to be advantageous. He's going to be gone. He's going to allow her to be herself. He's probably going to allow her a lot more freedom.
Debling is going to protect Penn, protect Portia, protect the girls. His status and his wealth are enough that no matter what Dundas comes out with, it won't matter.
Yeah,
it is
if Portia lost her title, she could just go live at Debling estate.
He has an estate big enough to house all of them, including
I don't know that
Prudence and Philippa.
I don't know what his actual surname is. I assume it's Debling, but I don't actually know.
Okay, pause 1 second. Yes, Cameron. If Debling's wealth and his rank can protect Debling from not being ostracized for
his oddities,
eschewing meat, for being a proponent of animals, I mean, a hunt is how you are
prove
accepted.
Your manhood. Yeah,
men are accepted. Yeah, so he's not going to go on a hunt, and he's going to eschew society.
Think about when Antony in the first season is describing who isn't suitable for Daphne. One of the things that he says to sell who's that little worm one Berbrook, thank you. He's a decent shot, like as if somehow that equates to him making a good husband.
He'll be a good husband for you because he's a decent shot.
As if like he needs to hunt, as if he needs to hunt for his own food. He's not a hunter gatherer.
Or if somebody is storming the castle, he'll at least kill one person.
It would make more sense if they were people who were having to fend for themselves out in the wilderness to survive. Yes, a good shot would be, okay, it's a marriageable man. They live in castles, for God's sake. They don't need. They have tons of money. Shot.
They are not relying on...
They have someone who fetches their food for them.
They're not relying on killing a deer to feed them for the winter, let me tell you that.
So it's definitely just a, like, look, my stick is bigger than your stick kind of a thing. We, I think, should probably wrap it up here because I think we've covered it pretty well. And
I'm just saying, like, Colin knows, like, the Bridgerton name could save, like, it would help Penn. If he married Penelope, he could save Penn. But he knows that Penn would be concerned about her family, and Debling's status and Debling's wealth can put an umbrella of protection over all of them. And he knows he can't do that.
This letter definitely shows us that he is self-sacrificing his love for Penelope to give her a more protection, an advantageous marriage. He thinks, how can I compete with that? If I marry her, if I show her I love her, if I allow this, I'm doing a disservice to her, and I cannot do her. He definitely does do her. Sorry, he can't do her like that. Sorry, Freudian slip. Getting excited. We're in episode 4 now. He can't do that to her. He loves her enough that he is willing to sacrifice. He's like, I can still love her quietly from the shadows for the rest of my life, and I will, but I need her to be protected above my need to have her. A little bit like Snape in Sensibility.
Why don't you mix two things?
Because he will always be Snape.
Yeah, Colonel Brandon. He's Colonel Brandon in Sensibility. Snape.
Always. Always.
Can you imagine? Yeah, he sends her the pianoforte.
It's an unrequited love. He's all about the unrequited love.
Yeah, there's not that note that says, learn this song for me. There's just
yeah, always.
That would be so good. And he just walks around like he's not in his military uniform, or he just walks around in Snape's robes.
Yeah. For today, gentle listeners, we will leave it there and continue on next week's episode, where we will get to take a trip to the library, my favorite place to be. If you have anything in particular you would like us to cover, or any Bridgerton knowledge you would like to share, please head to our Facebook page, The Ladies Bridgerton. If you are enjoying our podcast, please remember to click follow on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you are listening.
Thank you for of 2 very mad women.
Understatement. Oh, and one quick pause before we go on. Remember that we have the poll going for after we finish our season our episode 4 episodes
Side
that
stories.
we have the side stories to go, and then we are going to do a episode based on who you guys want as a deep dive. So please head to the Ladies Bridgerton Facebook page, vote on who you would like. You can add any character that you would like us to do a deep dive on, and people will vote on that. We will leave the voting open for probably 3 or 4 weeks, as that is, we've got a fair distance to go before we get up to those. But once again, yours truly.
Thank you for listening to.
Sorry.
I thought you were wanting me to say it again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you do that again.
Okay, so I'm not going to say musings here because these were not, I mean, this was an episode of like bombs dropped. So, like, thank you for listening to the Delulu of 2 very, very mad women.
It wasn't even Delulu. It was rock solid hard research.
Rock solid.
Thank you for thank you for listening to the musings of 2 mad scientists. Yours truly, Tosh the Kiwi.
And Lady Patti.
We are definitely in our scientist era today.